Hello, everyone. I'd just like to first say thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this amazing event. It's been really inspiring to hear from all the incredible women in data science that we have here today. So I would like to just begin today by acknowledging the Turrbal and Yagara people, traditional custodians of the land on which I'm speaking today in Brisbane. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. All right, so my journey has taken me from the East Coast of the United States to the East Coast of Australia. So it's been quite the journey, both figuratively and literally. And so when I was thinking about how to represent my journey, I thought that a timeline might help to visualize things. So my journey has first been made possible by some amazing women in my family who have been pioneers of their own and have encouraged me to follow my passions. But the first pivotal moment that I decided to put on this timeline was back in 2014. So I was a senior in high school and I enrolled in an advanced placement psychology class. I took it because it sounded interesting, but mainly because it allowed me to get college credit. However, I ended up absolutely loving it and learning about how people think and why we do what we do. And I feel like this was part of the start of my journey in data science because my studies of psychology kind of informed the lens through which I conduct my data science work today. So that love for psychology influenced me so much that I decided to major in it when I received a scholarship to Elon University in North Carolina. And at Elon, we have what we call a J term or January term. It's kind of like a mini semester. So you take one class for 3 hours every day of the week for 3 weeks straight. In my first year of college, they were offering a memory and memory disorders class that I enrolled in. It was taught by Dr. Amy Overman. And at the end of J term, she reached out to me and said that she saw potential in me as a researcher. So we sat down for a meeting where she invited me to work in her lab on a study which she had just received an NIH grant for. So I said, absolutely, count me in. And thus began my research journey. So we studied memory and aging. And specifically, we wanted to understand more about how people link pieces of information together. And we wanted to try to support people as they age in trying to remember things. So as part of the research grant, I was fortunate enough to spend part of 2 summers at Penn State University, where we could actually link behavior with brain activity by conducting functional magnetic resonance imaging experiments. So it was here that I had my first glimpse at any kind of computer programming. So when you collect MRI data, it doesn't look like the pretty images that you might see in research articles in which different parts of the brain sort of light up with different activities. Instead, you have to convert the MRI data into something meaningful that you can understand by doing a lot of pre-processing to the data. So some of the research team had written scripts to do this in MATLAB, which is specific programming language. And sometimes, as often occurs in research, the scripts would break. And I was encouraged as an undergrad, even though I had absolutely no programming experience, to play around with the scripts and try to help debug them. I found the process exciting. I'm very detail oriented, and so I love trying to find the maybe out of place commas or the missing indentations that may have broken the code. Now, I didn't actually fix anything, but the process of trying to learn how to do so was fun for me. So as I neared the end of my undergraduate degree, I decided to apply to clinical psychology PhD programs because I initially wanted to become a clinical psychologist. I applied to about 15 programs and I got one interview. And in that interview, I was asked why clinical psychology, and I couldn't give an answer. Needless to say, I did not get into that program, nor any of the programs that I applied for. And in hindsight, I'm really grateful for that. But in that moment, it made me nervous because then I really had to sit down and figure out what I was going to do after graduation. So a few months before graduating, I came across an ad for a research assistant in a clinical psychology lab at The Ohio State University, and I applied and I was offered the position. I was excited because this would allow me to get some experience in the field to really help me determine whether I wanted to pursue clinical psychology, because I really didn't have any experience in that field. So there I worked under Dr. Ruchika Prakash, and I managed a project where we investigated the impact of a mindfulness meditation intervention on cognition. So we had participants complete homework on a mobile app that was designed for the study. And at some point, we needed to aggregate the data to get a feel for participant engagement with the content. So we ended up hiring an undergraduate computer science major to do this. And I remember sitting with him as he wrote the code, trying to learn what I could from him, and being really amazed at how quickly he was able to concatenate pages and pages of Excel spreadsheets into something meaningful. So I learned so much in that lab from the people that I was lucky enough to be able to work with. And one of those things that I did not want to pursue clinical psychology. I wanted instead to go back to some of my roots in cognitive neuroscience. So I ended up moving back to North Carolina, where I worked as a research assistant in a lab at Duke University. And there we did some cool research on memory, aging, and decision making. In this role, I was one of 2 project managers, and that gave me a little bit more flexibility to learn new things beyond just managing the research study. So my boss, Dr. Greg Salmonez-Larkin, supported me in taking online programming classes as long as I then used what I learned and applied it to some data in the lab. So by the end of my time at Duke, I was really proud of myself and that I was able to do the same kinds of tasks that I could only watch a computer science student do back when I worked at Ohio State. So that was kind of a full circle moment for me. And then it was at Duke that at some point I learned about the field of data science, and I thought, this is what I've been looking for. It's a field that combines so many of the things that have interested and intrigued me along my journey into one. And so I wanted more foundational knowledge and experience in the field. So I decided to apply for a Master of Data Analytics degree at QUT. So as an aside, in my junior year of undergrad, I was fortunate enough to study abroad at the University of the Sunshine Coast for a semester. I fell in love with the place and the people, and I told myself when I was leaving, I have to come back here. And so I was able to do that when I was accepted into the program at QUT. I'm in my last semester of that degree, and throughout my time here, I've been exposed to all different kinds of data in different fields, and I've added a lot of tools to my toolkit and how to work with these different kinds of data. So it's really encouraging me to think critically, to not only answer the questions that we might pose to the data, but to learn how to craft a narrative and tell a story with the insights gained. I also work for the Queensland Cyber Infrastructure Foundation, or QCIF, where I help to deliver training workshops to people from the various universities in Queensland, which are designed to teach programming, statistical analysis, and data science. And I really love this work because it allows me to give back and be a part of others' journeys into data science. So even though this is presented in sort of a linear timeline, I really see my journey more as like the process of solving a puzzle. And so I feel like each of the experiences that I've had has added a new piece to this puzzle, which helps me to figure out what I enjoy doing and to follow that. And this parallels part of what I love so much about data science, that each new question to answer feels like a puzzle that I have the opportunity to try to solve. So when I think about my journey and what supported me, I think about how we can promote equity, diversity, and inclusion, not only in data science, but STEM as a whole. And so one thing that really helped me was scholarship programs. So I wouldn't have had the opportunity to attend the university that I attended for undergrad without the scholarship that I received. And so that was the Odyssey Scholars Program, and it's a merit and need-based scholarship program. Many of the students in it are first-generation college students, and so this provided me not only financial but social support along my journey. And I think we need more programs like this to increase access to resources, to encourage more people of varying identities into data science and STEM. I also have immense gratitude for the incredible mentors I've had and continue to have along the way. They've not only helped to nurture my skill sets and interests, but they've acted as representation of diversity in STEM. And they've had their own journeys to get to where they are, and they've showed me different paths. They represent what's possible, and they encourage me to continue moving in the direction of my goals and dreams. And so finally, related to mentors and representation, are support networks. So even though mentors, I've had amazing ones, I still find myself in some situations where I'm one of a few women in a room. And so if you further break this down, the spaces don't have much representation of people of different racial and ethnic backgrounds or gender identities. So there's a lot more progress to be made, but I think that these support networks are crucial to create those safe spaces of community to uplift each other. And I think this event is one of those kinds of support networks. So I just want to thank the Australian Data Science Network and all of the ambassadors and hosts for putting this together. It's an honor to be among such inspiring women. So thank you all so much.